State your name and DOC number for the record.
Joseph Landry, 509060.
All right, Joseph, my name is Brennan Kelsey. I have Mr. Marabella and Mr. Jones also sitting on the panel. We'll conduct a parole interview, ask you some questions. You can respond. At the end, you can make a statement. We'll take a vote. We'll allow parties on both sides to make a statement, victims and support. You understand the process?
Yes, sir.
Joseph Landry, DOC number 509060, second class offender, vehicular homicide, habitual, first degree vehicular negligent injury, sentenced to 42.5 years DOC, 6.5 years DOC, parole date 2/17/2019, good time 11/4/2053, and full term 10/30/2054. Does that sound correct?
That sounds about right.
You just answer Mr. Marabella, please.
But can't hear you. All right.
Okay, Mr. Marabella, please.
Okay. Mr. Landry, tell me a little bit about the programs that you've done while you've been in prison.
For about the first 5 years, I enrolled in a theology class. It was like a college course. It was a study of the Bible. I graduated with associates. I finished the bachelor's, but something happened with Dr. John, and he wasn't able to continue coming to the prison I was in. So I didn't receive the diploma on that one. I also I got about 3 years in on a School of Faith program, and from there I went to work at prison industry, building cabinets and bookcases and other office furniture. I was kind of limited to the programs I could take because due to my time. But I was able to participate in the Living in Balance class, and I took the pre-release over here at DCI. So
Tell me a little bit about your previous drug and alcohol use. How long did you start using? How old were you when you started using drugs?
well, I was kind of a late bloomer. I probably started when I was in my 30s. I started taking pain pills for my back. I didn't realize how addictive it was. But that kind of grew out of control real fast.
How about drinking?
Yeah, I drank occasionally. I was never a big drinker, but just beer here and there.
How many times were you arrested for alcohol-related offenses?
I was arrested for a lot of drug possessions back, and that's what my whole arrest record is from, drug possession.
Well, how about DWI back in '95?
Yeah, I had a DUI, yes, sir.
Well, was that drinking? Was that drugs? What was that?
Well, it was a little bit of both.
So when did you start using? You said you were a late bloomer. What kind of drugs were you using initially?
Well, I didn't really use drugs back in my 20s. It was really in my 30s. I drank a little bit here and there back in my 20s, but the drugs, the pills and that really came on the scene in my 30s.
And how long did you use the drugs? Did you ever get any kind of treatment outside of prison?
No, sir. I wanted to get help. I didn't like the direction my life was going in. I really didn't. But I just didn't. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to go about getting help.
What programs have you taken involving substance abuse while you've been in prison?
I signed up as soon as I got here, so I signed up for whatever substance abuse class that came up, which one I could get in first. I signed up for it. But before that, I was kind of, like I said, I was limited over there at Allen because there really wasn't a whole lot of substance abuse classes over there.
Well, tell me which ones you did take. That's what I'm interested in, not the ones you didn't, the ones
Well,
you did take.
Well, the
Tell
one
me
I
what
took
you,
would probably be the living in balance class. So that was a 6 month class, and it was pretty much recovering from drugs.
and when did you take that?
I took that in 2016, maybe 2017.
How about AA or NA classes? Have you
I
done any of those?
I did that for 6 months, and I stopped going.
Why is that?
It was real depressing for me. Real
What do you
depressing.
mean real depressing?
Well, it just kept reminding me of my past, and a lot of guys were getting up there, and it seemed to me like they were glorifying their past, and I was ashamed of my past. So I was ashamed
Well,
of.
what does AA and NA mean to you? What does that program mean to you in terms of assisting you to giving you the tools to stay off of drugs and alcohol?
Well, I mean, the one I had attended, it was more or less guys just speaking openly of about their addictions and how they was living with the addictions and some of the things they did while they was going through their addiction.
Well, you know, you're in jail because you killed a young man and you horribly injured another person. Tell me how, if you're asking me to vote to let you out early, how can I be convinced that you're not going to go back out there and do drugs and do alcohol and get behind the wheel of a vehicle and do something just like this again?
Well, I could tell you this, sir. I believe in order for a man to change, he has to want to change and he has to desire a change. And I was ashamed of what I came to prison for. And that shame giving me a desire to change. And I pursued that change, sir.
All right. You feel shame, but what tools are you going to use to make sure that you don't do drugs again? You don't like AA meetings or NA meetings because they depress you. What sort of tools or what sort of things are you going to do to make sure to convince me to vote to let you out that you're not going to go do this again?
Well, I'm not going to be around people that was doing the things I was doing. That's for one. The desire is gone. I mean, I have 12 years. I've been practicing. I've been retraining my mind to think.
The desire for what is gone?
The desire for drugs. I don't desire that lifestyle anymore.
Do you know how many drug addicts say things like that?
Well, I can't
The
speak.
desire
I
is
can speak
gone?
for me.
I'm sorry?
I can't speak for them.
Well, I'm asking you
I'm sure most of them.
today. Well, let me stop you. What are you going to do from a positive perspective that will convince me to vote to let you out, other than telling me I ain't going to do it again? I feel shame. I'm not going to go to A meetings because they depress me. Why should I vote to let you out when you're not giving me any material to believe that you're going to have the tools to change?
So I will do what's necessary. If it takes going to AA meetings, I will. It's just the way some of the ones were ran in here. I don't think all of them's like that. Whatever I have to do, sir, whatever it is, whatever programs, rehabs, or whatever, I'm willing to put myself through it.
All right. That's all the questions I have, I think.
Mr. Jones.
Thank you. Mr. Landry, tell me about your crime.
Tell you about my crime.
Yep.
Okay. I was driving, sir, when I shouldn't have been driving.
Why?
Why?
Why shouldn't you have been driving?
Because I had the medication in my system, and I didn't realize that I had too much to where it may cause me to fall asleep at the wheel.
Well, plus you had enough alcohol to qualify for a DWI, didn't you?
No, sir, I didn't have alcohol in my system.
I thought it was 0.08. Am I thinking about a different case? I apologize to you if I am. No alcohol in your system, right?
No, sir.
All right. So what were you taking?
I was taking methadone and Xanax.
Okay. What happened?
Well, I was going to the hardware store to work on a trailer where I was living at. I made it to the hardware store. On the way back, I kind of fell asleep behind the wheel and ran into the back of a car that killed an innocent person and severely hurt another one. I wish it would have been me taking that day. Wish it would have been me.
Well, that's not how it works. That's all the questions I had.
So if you were released early, what's your plans?
Well, I have a good support system. I have Miss Wanda and Aunt Sandra, who's been here with me for quite a few years now. And she's got some work for me to do, a place for me to stay until I reestablish my own self. So
What kind of work you gonna do?
I do carpentry work, remodel bathrooms, remodel houses.
Warden Booty, you have any input there on the facility?
He's been with me since November 2019. He's had no disciplinary report since he's been here. He's presently working in the chair assembly plant.
All right. Okay, let's see if we can get a statement from supporters. You want to go with Ms. Ruiz first, Leo? Like to have maybe Ms. Ruiz can make a statement. You want to speak?
Yes, sir. I'm Ginger Roy. I'm speaking on behalf of Ms. Ruiz. I'm just
Okay.
a family friend.
Go ahead,
I
Ginger.
just wanted to add that I've known Joe for many years now, and I truly believe he's fully reformed and ready to make a positive contribution to our society. He takes full responsibility for what he's done. He's incredibly sorry, and while he's remorseful for his mistakes, he has always been a very positive encouragement to our family. He's always full of hope to us. He spent his time expanding his education and growing spiritually. I believe that today he is a different man than who he was when he first went in. So I just wanted to add that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And do we have one more member in support that would like to speak? No? Okay. So now we have victims. Would a victim like to make a statement? Is it Miss Keisha? Is that who's next? Can somebody hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. State your name and relationship and go ahead and make your statement.
My name is Keisha Hart. I am the aunt to Chandler and Logan. So, yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay, take a breather.
But I submitted an 8-page letter to y'all already. And after listening to what Mr. Landry has had to say, I stand by my statement where he's not remorseful at all. He has shown no signs of getting treatment. I mean, he's ashamed, but he doesn't want to take responsibility and complete any kind of AA meetings or anything. He's not doing anything. He gets in there, he finds Jesus. He should have found before he went in, and none of this would have happened.
So this is Chandler.
This is Chandler.
Wait, tell the man.
Look.
Hi. Look right here.
He was 3 years old at the time of the accident
Correct.
or
The crash.
the crash, and he suffers from multiple disabilities. He wears a helmet due to the seizures he suffers. The brain injury he suffered, he has basically like a stroke. His left side is weak. He has no use of his left arm. He walks with a limp because just basically the injuries. At first, they told us he would never walk or talk again. He did. He has been through so many surgeries and so many more to come. He is also trying to get him having grandma seizures, but they're trying to get him into a facility in Tennessee to see what we can do to find out about getting these under control, because in the last
2 months.
it's been about 4 or 5 months, they have gotten
Really
a
bad.
lot worse. So now they're trying to get him into a hospital. So he is facing multiple medical issues every day of his life
And more surgeries.
due to Landry's actions. And he can't even take the time out to complete an AA meeting or a program.
Chandler can't even manage to go to school.
And yeah, Chandler is no longer in school because of the seizures. He is staying home. He
Stays in the bed.
can't walk much. When he walks without help, he falls. He's in and out of the hospital from his falls, his injuries, broken arms, broken toe, whatever, busted nose. He just busted his lip. Multiple things. And of course, there's Logan. Was 5 years old. We missed out on everything.
Be going about his first quarter show.
He just turned 17.
Yeah, he would have been 17 this year. So we missed out on a lot. And again, he feels ashamed. Well, shame just doesn't cut it. And I have a few pictures I'd like to share just of stuff that Chandler has went through in the hospital at the time of the car crash. And just to show what he did and what he looked like. Of course, we don't have anything of Logan from the hospital.
Not sure if you can see that.
Yeah. This is Chandler. Chandler had to have a piece of his bone removed. To release the pressure. He had a broken femur. Shut that door, please.
Yeah, it's messing up. Look.
He had a broken femur bone, lacerated liver. I don't know.
Go ahead.
And
Right.
this is a picture that'll show that his bone was, well, not so great. This is one of the last pictures we have of Logan and Chandler together. This was our Logan, our little country boy. And this is what we have to look at now.
All right, thank you.
This is our last picture of Logan.
Okay,
That's what we have.
all right. Thank you, Keisha. All right, we have another speaker, Ms. Kelly, or you want to make a statement?
Yes, thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Kelly Dare, and I'm a victim services specialist with Mothers Against Drunk Driving. On July 4th, 2008, Logan Woodruff was killed and Chandler Woodruff was severely injured because Joseph Landry chose to drive impaired. They were innocent children whose death and injuries were 100% preventable. Logan was only 5 when his life was taken away. He is greatly missed and sincerely loved by family and friends. Chandler was only 3 years old at the time, and his life has been forever changed due to Mr. Landry's decisions. Obviously concerned about his own presumed needs, Mr. Landry had no care for the danger he presented to innocent victims that day. Whether he thought he could make it driving impaired or whether he just didn't care is of no consequence. What matters is that he got behind the wheel, started the engine, and proceeded to kill one innocent child and permanently injure another. For the sake of justice and a safer society, and to respect the wishes of the victims and survivors of this crash, Mothers Against Drunk Driving respectfully asks that you do not grant parole to Mr. Landry. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Landry, would you like to make a statement on your behalf?
No, sir, I'm all right.
Okay. Is the panel prepared to vote?
Yes.
Mr. Marabella?
In reviewing the file in black and white is one thing. To see pictures and to hear the suffering of the family for this senseless crime is another thing. Speaking with Mr. Landry, he has taken some substance abuse classes. In my opinion, he has not done sufficient classes or recognizing his addiction to be released. He doesn't want to go to AA meetings. Mr. Jones can probably elaborate a little more on that. But I don't believe that he has, number one, served enough time. He's doing a 42-year sentence. He's been in jail, I think, for 12 years. His history of alcohol and drug offenses, the fact that he has not sufficiently accepted responsibility and that he has not done sufficient work to justify being released on parole and not going back to using drugs, I would vote to deny his parole.
Mr. Jones?
Mr. Landry, let me say first of all that I know you didn't intend to hurt anybody. And that means something. But the misery you caused is no different than if you had meant to do it. What you didn't mean to do is to drive a car, a dangerous instrumentality, knowing that you weren't really capable of doing it. And the truth is, people do that every day, sadly. Few people are quite as unlucky as you. But you were unlucky and you were wrong. And the result is the destruction that we heard witness to. As to AA meetings, Mr. Landry, I've been to hundreds of them, hundreds. Some of them are depressing. They are. And occasionally you hear people talk, and probably it's worse in prison, that want to glorify their drug use or their alcohol use. And your job is not just to walk out and say it's not a very good program. Your job is to figure out a way to make it work, because it's the only proven program that successfully treats alcoholism and drug abuse. My advice to you is to get your hands on what we call the big book. It's a book called Alcoholics Anonymous. Doesn't cost very much. Your family can send you a copy and read it, and then read it again. And if necessary, if you need to start your own meetings, ask prison officials, ask the warden, whatever you need to do, and do that yourself. Show us that you have the resolve to make certain this never can happen again. Until then, my vote is to deny your parole.
Mr. Landry, you have 2 votes to deny your parole. I'm too going to deny your parole today due to victim opposition, law enforcement opposition.
Mr. Kelsey,
Yes.
we lost DCI.
Yeah, that's what I was asking. I've been
I was
texting.
afraid of that.
Nobody's been responding.
Who are you texting?
But we'll keep going. We will. He has 3 votes to deny his parole due to his law enforcement opposition, victim opposition, needs more programming, and lack of remorse. So 3 votes to deny his parole's been denied. Thanks.
I tried to unpack this and I actually had to take a break. It's you. You would think after doing so many of these and seeing so many, I don't know, this one just hit me and cut me a different way. It brings up a lot of questions. You just don't know why these things happen. And seeing that little boy in the condition that he's in, after his brother was taken, and seeing the mother, the aunt, and then having to see what looked like a new mother holding an infant, talking in support of him. Maybe it was projection, but I thought that when she saw the child in that condition, that maybe she was having second thoughts or some type of shock. But she still went ahead with her statement, as if the irony of her statement just totally eluded her. Joseph has been a great support for our family. What are you talking about? He's in prison. What is the dynamic? You meet him and then come support him while you're holding your newborn. How dare you? And of course, Kelsey couldn't help himself but say to rush the victims. I just wanted to jump through the screen. And not just that, but everyone else is showing their respect of attention and listen. He's fidgeting and on the computer and it's like, where is your humanity, man? At least fake it. He's a physical therapist. That's his. We don't need to see him again. I don't think he's not getting reassigned for the new board. So, but man, there's something you can't. It just doesn't make sense. And then, of course, there's no DA. You can't explain that. How do you not send someone to represent the victims in this case? We have someone from Mothers Against Drunk Drivers thing, God, there's some type of victim advocate, but that has nothing to do with the DA. And it's strange. It's just so strange with these DUI cases. I don't know what it is, but it is so rare that we find someone who seems to have that humanity attached to them up for parole. Why is it always people that come up for parole that seem to be like the lizard humanoid type? It was interesting what Keith Jones was stating, how you're just unlucky. People do this every day, but you were just unlucky that you ran into the back of a car and took a life and changed. It's a questionable statement to make, in my opinion, unlucky. But I hear what he's saying, right? People drive drunk all the time. Or on Xanax all the time. Fall asleep at the wheel all the time. But why is it that we don't see people who come up for parole at these hearings that seem to have humanity, that seem to be in genuine pain and remorse? People who, he said, I have no final statement. And, in one sense, you can say, okay, at least he's not like being manipulative and saying something along the lines of, if they don't want me out, I won't go out or something. But you would think that he could have said, oh my God, I something about remorse. Or perhaps even have said, you know what, this is wrong. This is, I shouldn't get out. I don't know. I'd probably call him manipulative no matter what he would have said. Maybe nothing is the best way. But out of all these DUI homicide type cases, it just seems that there's very few that actually have feeling. And now this is who we saw today. A man who says he was under the influence of methadone when he ran in the back of the car, killing a child and injuring another, pleaded guilty in Livingston Parish Thursday morning in charges related to the crash. He was 39 at the time. He's not a kid. He's 39. Logan Woodruff, 5 years old, died. 5 years old. His younger brother Chandler, now 4, is in a wheelchair. The children's mother was taking them to go swimming when someone slammed into the back of the car, turning the family's world upside down. Their grandmother told the judge her daughter's heart was once made of 2 parts, Logan and Chandler, but now there is a piece missing. She said that one day after the accident, after the younger boy had surgery, Logan was taken off his ventilator. Since that moment, the family says little Chandler has repeated one phrase to his mother, Mama, go to heaven and get Lolo. I can't do this. Oh my God. Sorry for the pain. Sorry for the pain. Landry told the family in the courtroom, sorry for my family. So you see that I didn't read this before I told you guys how he's lizard humanoid. This is what he says in his final statements. Sorry for the pain? Are you kidding me? Then sorry for my family? At least they gave him a 42.5-year sentence. His good time date is 2054. He's 53 years old today. He's got another 30 years. And I so do hope that he never gets out. Chandler is now in a wheelchair, family members say. And they don't know if he will walk again. He also cannot use his left arm and is on a feeding tube. However, they say his attention is focused on Logan. His brother asks for him all the time, says the boy's on. What can you tell a 4-year-old about his brother no longer being here? Joseph Landry is being held in Paris jail. He'll be sentenced on the 24th. on vehicle homicide. He carries a sentence of at least 5 years. Can you imagine the legislation even allows a minimum of 5, but no more than 30? So that's why he got 2 charges. I mean, at least the judge threw the book at him. At least he got the maximum. Here's the next page. A man admitted to a judge that he was on narcotics when he crashed into the back of the car. He also apologized to the family, but they say his words mean nothing. Joseph, 39, pleaded guilty to vehicular homicide, neglect, injury. It was a teary morning inside the courtroom as the victim's family relived the accident that killed Logan. The family says a mother's okay. As he left the courthouse in handcuffs, Joseph Landry said he was sorry for the family and for his own family. He said he was under the influence of methadone and he plowed into the back of a car where the brothers were sitting. Chandler spent 6 weeks in the hospital. Just one day after the accident, the boy's mother had to make the decision to take him off the ventilator. Since then, the family says little Chandler has asked his mother for his Lolo. He'll tell you, let's go to heaven. He thinks heaven is a place like Walmart. We can go and just pick him up. He doesn't understand heaven is forever. Landry told the family in court he was sorry for what happened. As he wiped away a tear, he told them he has kids the same age as the boys, and he is hurt too. Well, he had a tear. That's interesting. Might have been for himself, though. He says it's impossible for Landry to know how he's hurt the family. No, he can't cause. He has kids. My sister does not. Landry's first charge of vehicular homicide carries. Okay. Yeah, it's there's not much to say. I know the at least the board seemed disgusted, except for, of course, the joke Brennan Kelsey. And it you know, it's funny to add, not funny, but it's just typical to add insult to injury again. It's like he didn't even go to AA because he didn't think it was good. Oh, I'll take whatever programs you want. And it's like, you took a life. You changed. Look at what you did. How can you actually have the audacity to ask for parole and show up not even being obsessed with AA? I mean, it just shows what he's thinking. It's sick. It's sick. You're gonna show up and say, I just don't need it anymore. You're in prison. Oh, the guys in AA, they're just like bragging. Like, dude, how many times have we seen people who actually do the programs in AA and they're reciting it like it's the Bible? At least they put in the effort. We might say it's a joke in some way. Some of us might mock it, but at least they bought into it. You don't even put in the effort. You're too busy in prison. You got too much time on your hands. I mean, not enough time. Like, it's a joke. It's just there's something wrong. It's so sick. But you know what? I'm glad. I'm glad because I hope he doesn't take it. I hope he keeps getting rejected. I don't know how often he'll have a chance of coming up for parole, but it's disturbing that he has the right to put this family through this over and over and over and over again for the next 30 years. This hearing took place in 2022. I think he's going to have a chance every 2 years. And think about that. We might see him in a few months, and that's disturbing. No, this took place in 2020. But I don't know. Maybe he's given up on parole. I don't know. But anyways, we'll move to another DUI style hearing, and I haven't seen it yet, but I'm sure we'll see similarities.
Your offense is vehicular homicide, and you were sentenced to 20 years and hard labor. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Your case has been assigned to board member Bonnie Jackson. Would you please answer Mrs. Jackson's question?
Good morning, Mr. Ferris. My name is Bonnie Jackson. Your case has been assigned to me, so I'll start the questioning for the board. First, are you having any difficulty hearing me? Are you able to hear me okay, Mr. Ferris?
Yes, ma'am, I'm hearing you good.
Okay, well, good, I'm glad. Mr. Ferris, how long have you been in prison on this particular charge?
4.5 years.
Okay. And this is a vehicular homicide where a 18 or 19-year-old woman was killed as a result of an accident caused by your drinking and driving. Is that correct?
No, sir, I don't drink. Period. I ain't drank nothing in over 20 years. It was an accident involved. And I know it's my fault in a way. And I'm very sorry about it. I prayed myself many times because I cried about this. Her died. But I did have oxycodone and methadone in my system that was prescribed to me by medical reasons from a doctor.
So your position is you weren't under the influence of alcohol, you were under the influence of methadone? Is that what you're saying?
Oxycodone and methadone, prescription drugs.
Okay, well, but DWI doesn't just require alcohol, Mr. Ferris. You can be guilty of driving under the influence of a controlled dangerous substance. And it doesn't matter whether you have a prescription for it or not. If it impairs you in some way, then that is the same as driving under the influence of alcohol. So
Yeah, I understand that, ma'am, but I don't think I was under the influence at that time, because it's been 6 hours, 5 to 6 hours later since I took anything from that.
okay. Well, Mr. Ferris, how many times in your life have you been arrested for driving under the influence?
A bunch of times I have done that.
And so, stop talking. Suppose if I were to tell you you've had at least 16 arrests for driving under the influence, would that sound about right to you?
Yes, ma'am.
And you have a previous felony conviction for possession of controlled substances, but you also have a previous DWI conviction from 1998 or 2008, but you've been convicted as a third DWI offender. Is that correct?
2008.
Well, I'm not sure. I can't read my own writing very well, but you have been convicted. Whether it was 2008 or however long ago, you have a conviction for third offense driving while intoxicated.
Yes, ma'am.
So you have a lifelong history of driving under the influence of whether it's alcohol or drugs. You have a lifelong history of driving under the influence. Isn't that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
I also showed okay, your third offense was in 1988. Your conviction for third offense driving while intoxicated was in 1988. Does that sound right?
Yes, ma'am, that was run concurrent with the marijuana job.
Okay, but Mr. Ferris, you're missing the point.
Yeah, I understand. That was my, I was charged with that. Yeah, I understand it.
Right. Mr. Ferris, I'm not gonna get into the facts of the case because I don't know that you and I would agree on the facts of the case. I just know as a result of your operating a vehicle, there was an accident and a
Yes.
young woman lost her life.
Yes,
You went to trial, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Evidence was presented at the trial
Yes, ma'am.
and a jury found you guilty of vehicular homicide. Is that correct?
I didn't have a jury. I didn't have a jury.
Well, the judge found you guilty.
Yes,
Whoever heard the facts found you guilty of vehicular homicide. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And a vehicular homicide occurs when a person is driving under the influence, and as a result of their actions, someone is killed. Operating the vehicle under the influence, whether it's alcohol or drugs, and it causes an accident that causes the death of another person, then that's vehicular homicide. Can we agree with that?
Yes, ma'am.
And the judge listened to the case, a judge who knows the law, and he found you guilty of vehicular homicide.
Yes, ma'am.
And can we also agree, Mr. Ferris, that you have been on parole or probation a number of times?
Yes, ma'am.
And can we also agree that you've been revoked at least 5 times while on supervision for either driving under the influence or drugs? You've been revoked several times. I mean?
3.
No, I think it's more than 3. But the point is, you never seem to be successful when you were given the opportunity to be on probation or parole. You never were successful. You ended up getting revoked. Can you tell us why that is? Why you could never comply with the conditions of supervision?
Yes, ma'am. Back then, before 2000, I had a very serious alcohol problem. And I was going back and forth, getting drunk and caused that problem. I turned my life around then, quit drinking, quit everything. About 2004 or 5, I was having stomach troubles and back problems. I went to the doctor. Now, I done quit everything during all this time, and that's when the doctor prescribed this medication that I was on. I was on it for 7, 8 years and got hooked on it. And I'm very sorry for anything that I ever done because of this. I was turning my life around. I done had too much death in my family and everything. Lost too many people, like that young lady that I killed in that accident. I am very sorry about that. I done cried many a night because of it and asked God to forgive me for that. And all my people now, the last 2 or 3 years, I done lost a lot of people out there. And I'm in bad shape, bad health, on COPD, bad back, neuropathy, and a bunch of stuff. And I done lost an aunt, an uncle. My wife just had breast cancer. She's 10 years older than I am. She's 70. She needs help out there. I lost a brother, my cousin, his wife, and his 2 children. They got lost out there.
Okay, Mr. Ferris, we live long enough, we're all gonna experience loss. And we're not here about the people in your family who have died. We are here about you, what you did to cause harm to another family, and to talk about what you have accomplished since you've been incarcerated that would give us any sense that you were in any way capable of being released into society without causing more harm? So what kind of programs have you taken since you've been in prison? Tell me some of the programs that you've taken.
I've done pre-release, I've done living in balance, cage and rage, anger
Hey, let's-
management.
Hey, let's stop. Slow down. Tell me about living in balance.
Living in balance, that's the difference in your life, how you gonna do on the outside and on the inside. Balance your life out, even the good from the bad, the balance, you stay away from the bad to the good part.
Is living in balance a substance abuse class?
Yeah, it covers all of it.
Well, what did you learn about your substance abuse?
Well, all them classes got AA and NA, I took that too on the substance abuse.
Well, I'm trying to figure out what you learned.
Well,
I'm trying to figure out, you can sit in a class and be a body in a class. I'm not interested in what classes you just sat in. I'm interested in what did you learn from any of those classes?
well, just like the 12-step program guy, I found out I was powerless over alcohol and drugs. And I know it's a power greater than myself and restore me to sanity and turn my will and life over to the God as I understand it. Make certain inventory of myself and list them all and have God to remove my shortcomings. Keep going on and on. I don't want no kind of drinking in my life again, no kind of pills in my life. It caused me any kind of trouble. I'm through with all that.
Well, Ferris, I wish you'd been through with all of that before this happened.
Yeah, I wish I was too. I really do. I thought I was, tell you the fact. So I
Have you-
spent 10 years straight.
Have you ever taken victim awareness?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Do you have any idea of what harm you've caused to the victim's family?
Yes, ma'am. I know I hurt them bad. If it was me, I feel just like they would losing one of your children. And like you said, they blame it on drunk driving and stuff. That look really bad. And I know it's painful, but it's painful to anybody to lose a kid. And like I said, I'm very sorry and cried many a night over it myself because it's painful for me knowing that that happened for me.
Warden Day, what would you like to add about Mr. Ferris?
Since he's been in here, he doesn't have any write-ups and he has taken those classes. I do think that there are some more classes that would probably benefit him. He and I talked earlier about this and this hearing today, and I discussed with him my concerns of him already having some chances out of here and already going through some programs earlier in his career in corrections. So he and I have been through that, but as far as in here, he has been a decent offender.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Ferris. That's all I have, Mr. Brochet.
Thank you, Mrs. Jackson. At this time, we will allow the victim's mother, Miss Laura Deaning Thomason, to make the presentation.
And ask.
Ms. Thomason, sit a little bit now.
It asks if you or your family suffered financially. My answer to this question is yes. My husband and I both missed work when my daughter was murdered. Therefore, we suffered financially. Also had medical bills since I had to go to the hospital shortly after getting the news of my daughter's death. And on top of that, we paid for a funeral. Michael Ferris didn't pay for the funeral, he just called it. I tried following along the questionnaire provided, but I found it to be frustrating. I mean, have I suffered emotionally? Seriously, my beautiful 18-year-old daughter was murdered. 1 minute she was smiling and driving to work, and the next she lay on the side of the highway. People tried to save her, but her injuries were too significant. She was on her way to work in the middle of the day. She had to be at work at Bass Pro at 1 p.m. Michael Ferris made the choice to drive impaired. He had picked up those particular medications earlier that day and took some before getting back in his truck to drive again. Not to mention, we don't know how much alcohol he had consumed either. My daughter died from multiple organ failure. Miranda was a healthy 19-year-old girl who was murdered by Michael Ferris. I say she was murdered because Michael Ferris made the choice to drive impaired. He made the choice to take those pills before he got back to his residence. It is a violent crime because organ failure was caused by violent blows to those organs from the impact of the wreck. He hit her almost head on, and it was a 4-car collision. Can you imagine for one moment what you might feel like to get a phone call telling you that your child was no longer here? Then to find out that the man who did it had 10 previous DUI, and he was fighting and cursing the police while your child lay on the ground dead. I can tell you what I felt because I still remember it. I was at work in Baton Rouge when I got that call. It was her job calling me to say there was an emergency and to call a number that they proceeded to give me. The number I called was a stranger that was at the scene. He had called her job because he saw her uniform. I called him and panicked because I just knew something was wrong. For her not to be at work and not answering her phone, I knew. Sometimes mamas just know. I didn't know how bad, but I knew something was wrong. The stranger on the phone said, I hate to tell you this, but Miranda is no longer with us. In that moment, everything changed for me. I felt all my breath had been sucked out of my body. I felt nauseous, lightheaded, hot, shaky all at the same time. I remember I kept saying, no, 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 over and over. I was trying to get confirmation since this news came from someone at the scene of the collision. It would be confirmed, and later the state police would show up at the job to deliver the news in person. My husband came to pick me up. I don't remember the ride there, but we had to go to the coroner's office in Livingston. I was shown photos of my very injured and very upset daughter. I will never get those images out of my head. They still want me. We had head trauma and it broke. Pictures showed her laying on the ground. Everything from when they were trying to save her. My daughter was so petite. She weighed less than 100 pounds and was only 4'11". I mean, no. Things can't be real. My husband took me to the hospital after they gave me medicine to help calm me down. As details started coming in about the wreck, made me realize how flawed our system is. He had 10 previous DUI and finally got the 11th when he murdered my daughter, my beautiful Miranda. He had 10 DUIs from Alabama and Louisiana. He shouldn't have been able to drive anymore if he wasn't locked up. As time went on, I also came to realize that the criminals had all the and the daughter had none. The assistant DA offered Ferris a deal before he could discuss him up. He was offered 5 years if he pleaded guilty. Ferris turned that deal down, so we ended up going to trial. Many pre-trial motions we sat through, many days of work missed because of this. I was determined to be there. I would not give up on Miranda and justice for her. Ferris showed no remorse for his actions and decisions committed on October 2nd, 2015. During the trial, he was even under the influence. He was falling asleep on the witness stand. Judge Morrison had to wake him up. He could have easily killed someone else that day since he was allowed to drive again. Imagine that. Imagine my anger. When is enough enough? Why are we even here today? He doesn't deserve parole. Of course, he will be a model prisoner. He's old. He can't undo her death. You can't reduce how dead she is. Why reduce his sentence? He had plenty of chances to straighten up. If you grant him parole, he will have only served 5 years for killing my daughter. It isn't right. Nowadays, people spend more time locked up on drug charges. My heart hurts every day for my child, Randy King Roberts. It hurts because I miss her so much. Not so much what she was robbed of having, what she so wanted. She wanted to get married and be a mama. She would never have those important moments. I continually hurt because her brother and my son Jared misses his sister so much. He won't even talk about it. They were very close. Jared will never be the same. None of us will ever be the same. Breathe stays with you and it changes you. I don't recognize myself anymore. I have to take medicine every day. I'm sure you can tell by this letter that I'm opposed to being parole, even if he's denied parole. I know he'll be out in 2024, which shouldn't have to be. I don't think he should ever be allowed to drive again. I think he should have to do a rehab program, prison and attend weekly meetings if he gets parole. Then though he hasn't done his time, he was sentenced to 20 years. My daughter, Miranda Dean Roberts, born November 18th, 1995, mattered and still matters. She was beautiful, sassy, caring, funny. I mean, just fun. She loved Jesus, animals, her boyfriend Dylan, her family, chocolate, being a Girl Scout, and being Native American. I'm sorry you didn't get to meet her. Had you met her, I forgot her. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Thomason. Thank you, Ms. Thomason. Mr. Michael Roberts, father. Mr. Roberts. Mr. Roberts, if you don't mind, a 3-minute. And then.
But her mother pretty much said it all. I don't know what more can be said. I don't care what programs he goes through. I don't care what, again, he's only being a model inmate or a model citizen inside because he doesn't have access to the things that he has weaknesses. He has weaknesses for substance, whether it be alcohol or pill. He has poor decision making. He can take pill. Nobody says on the bottle, don't operate vehicles on prescription. He's shown his entire life his propensity for bad decisions with all the DUIs and felonies. He doesn't need to be here. He doesn't need to be among society, putting everybody else that his bad decision. I don't care what programs he does. I don't care how good of an inmate. He can be good inmate for 20 years. That's where he belongs.
Thank you, sir. At this time, we'll hear from Attorney Zachary Daniel, the Assistant PA in Livingston Parish. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. And may it please this board, I appreciate your time today. I can hear the pain and frustration from the family members, and it is a pain and frustration that I grew to know very well while working this case and working with the family to bring the case to justice. The incident occurred in 2015, and it is an inordinately long time for this to proceed to trial, especially for a bench trial in our jurisdiction. So I will state my assessment of the case was that in terms of taking responsibility or even allowing a trial to occur, there was a delay and an intentional delay on behalf of the defendant at that step, building the frustrations of these family members of being denied justice. I believe Judge Jackson stated that there were 3 felony convictions with 1 felony DWI. I would draw the body's attention to 2 convictions we were able to locate, both for felony grade DWIs out of the state of Alabama. Docket numbers 1997-365 and -1086. Both of those are felony DWI convictions using only DWI priors from the state of Alabama. The case for me highlighted in many ways the difficulties of connecting old DWIs and the lack of communication between state agencies and interstate communication, because this person should not have been allowed on the street. The DWI history on this case is probably the worst that I've seen, and each case obviously sticks with you in a different way, but I distinctly remember parts of this trial that stood out, and one of them, to refute any indication that Mr. Ferris seems to be representing to this day that he was not intoxicated, was the testimony of the first responder EMS worker, Ms. Jangalowski, who indicated that upon applying Narcan, he immediately responded from a fugue state. A direct indication both to her and our expert witness who was present for that testimony that that medicine is directly responding to the the drugs that were in his blood at the time. So despite what he is representing to you or quibbling with you about his intoxication, he was extremely intoxicated when this occurred, and he directly caused the death of a 19-year-old girl. I will express the frustrations, and obviously it's not this board's fault. I don't think it's anybody's fault that a parole calculation for a 20-year sentence can come this early. But I would urge this court to consider his criminal history, consider his repeated lack of ability to acknowledge what he did despite having been found guilty, and despite appearing in court, as the mother said, in an intoxicated state. He did have to be awoken on the stand by the judge while testifying in his own defense, while denying that he was under the influence of controlled substances, and then he attempted to drive himself home after that. I think that is probably as poignant an example that this board can be provided with, that he does not believe he did wrong and he has not taken responsibility for his conduct. I would ask this board to deny him parole, and I intend to appear as often as this issue may come up to argue this same point before the board, that he has not taken responsibility for the life that he took. I thank the board for the time, and I do express my well wishes to the family. I wish I could be there in person.
Thank you, Attorney Daniels. We appreciate your attendance. Mr. Ferris, do you have a brief statement to close the hearing?
Yes, sir. Look, I did not mean none of that. I know I said I was under the influence of drugs. I know that. I'm sorry. Y'all can take my drive. I don't want to drive through nothing. I just want to get out. You'll never see me again or anything back in one of these prisons. I want to get out and be with my wife.
Thank you, Mr. Ferris. Thank you.
Okay.
Is the panel ready to vote?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson.
Mr. Ferris, it's obvious to me that you just don't get it. You don't accept your responsibility. It's not about you getting out, being with your family. It's about the harm that you caused to another family. You have a horrible record of drinking and driving. You were under the influence of controlled substances on the day that you committed this offense, and you even don't acknowledge that today. I recognize that addiction is an illness, but driving is not. You made a choice to drive. You could have gone home, taken those pills, gotten as high as you wanted to. You could have stayed at home on all those occasions and bought some liquor and drank to your heart's content. None of that is against the law. What is against the law is getting behind the wheel of a car and putting everybody on the road with you at risk. And you just don't get that. You have no insight into your situation. You have no understanding of the harm that you caused, and that you're saying you're sorry is absolutely meaningless to this family who has lost so much. You've only served 4 years of this sentence, and in view of your horrific history of drinking and driving, your poor supervision history, the harm that you caused, and the adamant opposition from the victim's family, my vote today is to deny your request for an early release.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. Mr. Nazi.
Mr. Ferris,
That's fine.
I do agree wholeheartedly with everything that Judge Jackson has said. My vote today is also to deny. I will ask that special conditions do be added to your good time release certificate. And that's going to be that you have no contact with the victim's family, that you enroll and complete a substance abuse program and comply with any treatment that's recommended by that provider, and that you attend 3 AA meetings each week for the entire period of your supervision.
Mr. Ferris, you have received 2 votes to deny your request. I agree wholeheartedly with the other 2 members, and I agree with the conditions that we're going to place on you at your good time release. I vote also to deny your request. Quite frankly, Mr. Ferris, you are a risk to public safety. If you're driving, you are a risk to everyone that's on the highway. I would suggest that when you're released, that you do get someone to drive you. And I suggest that you follow all stipulations that's been placed on you by this board. If you do not follow those stipulations, you will be revoked and you will serve for 20 years. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Your request for early release has been denied. Have a good day.
I'm just denied,
And you wouldn't believe it if you didn't see it. Who would believe that someone can have 10 DUI arrests and still be on the road? Who can believe that someone can have a vehicular, can take a life while driving and still be allowed to drive himself to court? He was able to kick the ball down the road with trial, as the DA said, and even fall asleep on the stand because of intoxication and try to drive himself home. You wouldn't believe it. And like from the previous hearing, there's something, it's not just that he did this and took a life, but it's that he's like a roach. He just doesn't care. He says, poor me, woe is me, I've lost family. It's like you just don't get it. I mean, Miss Jackson with the perfect mic drop. You just don't get it. You can go home and do what you want to your heart's content, but don't get behind the wheel and drive. And there's nothing there. It's emptiness. And keep in mind, it's this emptiness while he had good time. He has a good time date of 2024. This hearing took place 12/20/22. It was about 2 years he's arguing about putting the family through this. And Louisiana, watch out for all of you that live there. He is 1 month away from his parole date at the time of this recording. March 23rd, 2024 is when he gets out. Yep. You want to see a broken system? You just saw it. The DA touched on it, and thank you for the DA for being here. But can someone explain to me how he even has a good time date? This accident happened in 2015. He didn't even have the conviction because of the trial. He served hardly any time. He served 4.5 years so far. So 6.5 years for taking a life after your fourth, all the revocations, all the DUIs, all the arrests.
58-year-old man is locked up accused in a deadly crash. State police say Michael Ferris, you see his picture here, crossed the center lane, swiping a pickup and then slamming head on into a car, then allegedly sideswiping another vehicle. The accident happened just before 1 on Highway 16 north of Watson. One person was killed, another was injured. Ferris was arrested for DWI and negligent homicide.
That's the car she was driving. You can't make this stuff up. And thank you, Richard, for sharing the info. It happened on a Friday afternoon, going to work. He's 58 years old here, and he's still young, by the way. He's getting out. I mean, yeah, he's in bad shape, but he is he's 66. He's 66 now. He was 62 when this happened. Is that possible? Maybe I have the wrong link up. But Ferris vehicle was traveling southbound lane when he hit 19 Miranda Roberts head on. The suspect's car also sideswiped in 29-year-old's car before it came to a halt. She wasn't wearing a seatbelt. That's so tragic. Of course, he only received minor injuries. They always do. I'll read from you something else Richard found here. So the initial investigation by the state police revealed that the crash occurred at 58-year-old Michael Ferris was traveling northbound in a 1997 Chevy pickup truck. His vehicle crossed the center lane and southbound lane, sideswiped a 98 Chevy pickup driven by 62-year-old Harry Hartner. Ferris' vehicle continued into the southbound lane and struck her 1998 BMW 323. After striking Robert Ferris' vehicle, sideswiped a 2014 Nissan Maxima driven by a 29-year-old. Roberts was unrestrained and received fatal injuries as a result of the crash. She was pronounced deceased at the scene. Ferris was properly restrained and received minor injuries. Hartner was properly restrained and not injured. Rickards was also properly restrained and received minor injuries. A toxicology sample will be taken from Roberts for analysis. Given a chemical breath test and no signs of impairment were detected. So it seems he wasn't drinking, but he was clearly intoxicated. During the course of their investigation, troopers determined Ferris was impaired and placed him under arrest for DWI. A toxicology sample was taken from Ferris and will be submitted. It's you know what we're gonna do is we're gonna watch. I don't know if you've seen it's this Richard showed me this judge sentencing a woman who's not in good shape. She's older in age and it's her third DUI. And I'll fast forward to just the sentencing of it. But I hadn't seen this judge before, but I loved what he said at this sentencing. So I'll play the end of it and I'll give you a link to the YouTube channel if you want to see the full 20-minute hearing. It's from Court Cam TV. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but I'll put the link to them in the description down below. But before we do watch that, and get some relief. I just feel like we need some relief of what a proper courtroom would look like. And the DA said here, you know, it's not the parole board's fault or maybe even the court's fault that he got such a small sentence. Maybe it's the legislation's fault. It's not quite clear why he is eligible for parole. And the case we saw before, well, like why he has a good time date, I guess. In the case we saw before, they don't. I don't understand that. How is it that you have two different, like why does he get a good time date? How can you release this man onto the streets? It's with his record, it doesn't make any sense. So, you know, this is again why we do this. People need to see these things. It can't just be in a little room. And I love what the DA said. He had his own mic drop, and he said he'll keep showing up. And you heard the family speech, and I mean, from A to Z, how this thing was handled was excellent. But the terrible reality of it all is that this cockroach who just doesn't care will be in a car in a month from the day of this hearing. And there's nothing anyone can do to stop it. But now let's go see how a judge handles this particular case, just for a little bit of maybe relief.
On supervision, for whatever reason, many people with drinking problems can kind of almost go cold turkey. They're model probationers. And then the minute they graduate, they're down in the local bar drinking. It's kind of an interesting phenomenon. Nobody seems to look at it. But the problem with that is we have these long stretches of no.
The man on the left here is just for the FYI. He has nothing to do with this case. I think he was next on the docket, but he's like really intently listening. Who the judge is talking to is this woman, and this is her attorney. And they had the whole. She was trying to get no jail time for her third DUI conviction, and the attorney was arguing that she has to sleep with like a breathing machine, and it's dangerous to be in the jail, and giving all the reasons about why she shouldn't be given any prison time. And the judge is now making his ruling.
No criminal activity. I would tell you that statistics would bear out the idea. Just because you went that long between convictions doesn't mean that you were not drinking and driving. That just means how long it was before you got caught. Because it would be an incredible coincidence, wouldn't it, Miss Morgan, that the one time that you drink and drive with a gap of 10 years is the one time you get caught? Everybody knows that's nonsense. But the fact of the matter is, here we are, fourth offense today, 3 priors, a 0.18, and a guideline range that is 5 to 23. I'm not interested this morning with you, Miss Morgan, particularly with everything that you've had in this PSI that you don't have any interest in ITAS. You're not interested in addressing your alcohol problem. You don't think that you have an alcohol problem. You tell me you can't do community service. You're not interested in that. You're not interested in complying with any sort of supervision because you have these transportation issues. It's excuse, it's excuse, it's excuse. Not once have you referenced to probation that I'll do this or I'm going to do that. It's all what I can't do. And then you have a pretty bold argument today that, well, I shouldn't do any jail. How is that going to protect the community from your drinking and driving? How is that going to serve as a deterrent to others? How would this court look when a 4th offense drunk driver gets no jail time? How does this court look if I even entertain that and then you're out 6 months from now, a year from now, 2 years from now, and you seriously injure or kill somebody? They don't care about your argument or Ms. Constantine's or the prosecutors. The only person then that looks like an idiot is the court, because they're going to go back and say, well, what was her sentence? And they go, that idiot judge, 4 times now she's been convicted. and he allows her back into the community where she can then endanger or kill somebody again. We can roll your eyes, but it happens every day. Ms. Morgan, I don't need to hear anything from you. You've already had your opportunity to speak. So you can roll your eyes, but that's exactly what happens. And guess what? Ms. Constantine, Mr. Butler, and I would not be employed if we didn't have folks like you that reoffend. And I kind of wish that I didn't have that job, because once somebody, if there was a magic cure, you got an alcohol problem, you got a drug problem, we could fix it, that'd be fantastic. I would gladly go find something else to do for a living. Because honestly, this gets kind of old. The carnage, the damage, the death as a result of people that drink and drive, that use drugs, that commit crimes while using drugs, commit crimes to obtain drugs. And you're no different. And we've got a guideline range in a criminal history and a fact pattern here that all suggests that the sentence that I'm going to impose is appropriate. So, Ms. Morgan, I am required to impose a $130 crime victims assessment. That's required by statute. The court will do that. I am required to impose, not required, but I am going to impose court costs of $550. I'm required to impose state costs, the amount of $136. And that is broken down $68. That brings us on counts 1 and 2. And then Miss Constantine, I'm going to eliminate 32. You retain, is that right?
Yes.
All right, so the court will eliminate 32. I'm also going to impose a $1,000 fine. And then as it relates to count 1, now this is the operating while intoxicated. Ms. Morgan, the court's going to impose a sentence of 13 months with the Michigan Department of Corrections to the statutory max of 5 years. You will receive credit for 2 days you previously served. On count 2, the court's going to impose a sentence of 6 months to statutory max of 2 years. You will receive credit for 2 days that you've previously served. 1 and 2 will run concurrent, one with the other. Now, Ms. Morgan, you do have a right to seek appellate review of the sentence the court's just imposed. If you'd like to do that, you have 21 days from today's date to make that request. If you want a court-appointed attorney to assist you, you have a broader window of 42 days. So 21 and 42. Ms. Constantine, do you have the appellate paperwork there? So for the record, I'm placing the executed paperwork in the file. Anything else from either side? No. All right. Ms. Morgan, you can have a seat with Ms. Fowler. We'll have a deputy here to retrieve you. Thank you.
Your Honor, could you please discuss what we're supposed to do with the CPAP? Just let her die?
I have no idea what to do with the CPAP. It's not the bailiwick of the court to instruct the jail or the Department of Corrections on how to manage the health conditions of their inmates. I have no jurisdiction to do that. I would never even entertain the idea that somehow I'm a medical expert to tell them how to handle the medical issues of their inmates. That's something that you're gonna have to take up with, I assume, the Department of Corrections if they can get her on the road today. I don't know. All right, Ms. Morgan, have a seat, please. What else?
Oh man, that judge is funny, huh? And again, I'll put the link to court cams in the description if you want to see the full hearing. I've never seen that judge before. Thank you, Sir Richard. I needed that. I need to see something. And you know what it was that's interesting? He says, if people are going to see this and you get into and you kill someone, they're going to laugh at the court. They're going to look at the court. And that is like one of the greatest things about these courts being on YouTube. And they all of the courts should be on YouTube because it holds the judges accountable. It holds the DAs accountable. Only good. I mean, I'm sure there are some wrong things I haven't thought about, but mostly good will come from all courts going on YouTube. And this is something that as a whole, I think will happen as more and more people realize this, but there's always a risk that it could be taken down because I'm sure there are plenty of people that don't want it to happen. So it is so important. You know, can you imagine that this Roach that we just saw was 16 prior arrests for DUI? that if those judges were on YouTube and the prosecutor showed up and said, this is his 4th arrest, this is his 5th, this is his 8th, this is his 10th, this is his 12th, this is his 16th, and the judge would just keep letting him go, you think that the judge would make the same choice if he was being recorded for the world to see? He or she? I don't think so. And maybe a life would have been saved. So that's part of why we do this. And with that, I'll let you go.